the scorching truth. They told me the desert was a place of lack, a barren sea of loss. They were wrong. The desert isn't empty. It is full of the answers we have forgotten to how to hear. I came here parched, not from water, but from the noise of my own becoming. A chorus of wants that left no room for need. I was a question shouted into a crowded room, drowned out by 1,000 other voices, all screaming their own names. So I walked into the great, soundless cathedral, where the sky is the only dome, and the wind, the only hymen. The journey. The first lesson was the sun. Not the gentle star of poets and painters, but a white, unblinking eye. It judged without malice, saw without pity. It showed me the architecture of my own shadow, how it stretched long and thin, a desperate flag, then retreated to a puddle at my feet. There was no place to hide. Every flaw, every crack in my carefully crafted self was illuminated in that relentless light. I wanted shade, a curtain, a comforting lie, but the sun said, wait. It burned away the varnish of who I thought I was, until only the grain of water and what remained was left, a harder, simpler wood. I found a stone, worn, smooth as an old bone. I held its silence in my palm. It held eons in its heart, the memory of mountains, the slow, patient dialogue between wind and rock, my own frantic timelines, regrets attached deep, and anxieties for a future not yet born seemed so small against its granite calm. The stone did not strive to be more. It simply was a perfect testament to endurance. It whispered, this too is wearing you smooth. Your griefs are my winds, your joys my rain. You are being shaped even when you feel you are being destroyed. I saw a cactus, armored, its green flesh a reservoir of stubborn will. It did not beg the clouds for pity. It did not curse the unyielding earth. Instead, it sank its roots deep into the difficulty, turning thirst into a strategy, turning scarcity into a form of strength. It poured every drop of a rare blessing rain, not out of greed, but out of fierce love for its own existence. It offered a single, shocking bloom to the dawn, a defiant act of beauty in the face of all was harsh. It taught me that resilience is not a wall, but a well dug in the dark, secret parts of the soul. And then the wind, the great unseen sculptor. It had no form, yet it carved the tunes into waves of frozen sand. It sang a single, shifting note through the canyon's throat, a tone of erosion and change, I felt it on my face, not as an assault, but as a constant, gentle pressure remaking me. It was not an enemy to be resisted, but a collaborator in my own unfolding. It whispered, "Let go of the dust you cling to. The shape you have today is not the shape you will have tomorrow. I am the breath that wears down the proudest stone. I am the same breath that fills your lungs with life. Allow me to shape you." As day bled into evening, the heat released its grip. A vast velvet coolness descended like a forgiveness, and then the stars, not the sky, scattered pinpricks of the city sky, but a brilliant star choked riot, a diamond blizzard frozen in mid-fall. The Milky Way was not a faint smear, but a thick, luminous river, and I, a tiny pebble on the shore. In that staggering immensity, my loneliness vanished. For how can you be lonely when you are part of such a magnificent whole? My small dramas, my personal triumphs and failures were neither significant nor everything. They were simply part of the cosmos expressing itself, a single, unique note in a silent, grand symphony. The universe was not out there, separate from me. I was standing in its very heart. The silence here is not an absence, it's a presence. A first, it screamed in your ears, this void of human sound. But then the screams faded and you begin to listen. You hear the scuttle of a beetle, a universe in its determined track. You hear the beat of your own heart, the primal drum. You hear the soft, sifting sound of your own thought settling like sand in still water, and in that clarified quiet, a voice begins to speak. It's not my voice or the wind's voice, but a voice that uses them both. It is a voice that seeded the cactus and polished the stones. It is a voice that lit the stars and carved the canyons, and it has been speaking all along. I learned to sit, not to wait, but to attend, like the hawk circling on a thermal. I was no longer frantic for a destination. The seeking was the finding, the listening was the answer. The desert does not give you what you want, it reveals what you require. It strips you, not to leave you poor, but to show you the one essential things you own. Your unbreakable core, your patient, enduring self, the quiet flame of awareness that the wind of circumstances cannot extinguish. I thought I needed to be filled. The desert taught me I needed to be emptied of the borrowed opinions, the frantic comparisons, the fragile self-esteem that shattered at a harsh word. The emptiness I feared was the very thing that made me whole, for only an empty vessel can be filled with rain. Only a silent room can hear the truth. I saw a flash of movement, a lizard on a hot rock. It was not contemplating the meaning of its life. It was simply being the lizard with every fiber of its being. It was perfectly, utterly itself. And in that, it was holy. The lesson was not to become the lizard, but to become the authentic, to wear my own skin with that same unthinking grace, to stop trying to be a mountain when I was meant to be a canyon, deep and resistant and resonant, to stop trying to be a river when I was meant to be a stone, solid, not absorbing anything, not emitting anything, that is, blurred into a single long lesson. The line between the observer and the observed began to dissolve. I was not a girl in the desert. I was a part of the desert. I was the sun. The sun was my own fierce will. The cactus, my own stored resilience. The wind, my own breath of change. The star, my own ancient shining origins. The separation was the great illusion, the source of all my suffering. So here is the secret. The silent sands taught me the scorching truth that cooled my fevered soul. You are not a drop in an ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. The resilience you seek is not a shield to be found, but a well to be dug in the quiet of your own solitude. The answers you crave are not spoken in words, but whispered on the wind that shapes your character and written in the stars that light your core. Do not fear the emptiness, for it is in the vast, silent spaces, the uncultured moments between thoughts, that the universe whispers its name and yours. Your life is not a problem to be solved, but a desert to be walked, a landscape to be met, and on its own terms, let the sun of circumstances show you what is real. Let the winds of change carve you into something beautiful and strong. Let the stars-choked nights remind you of your glorious scale, infinitely small, yet infinitely connected. The journey is not out there, it is right here, in the next breath you take. The voice you are straining to hear is not mine, it is your own, young, buried, deep and clear as a desert well. Stop shouting your questions. Sit, listen. The silence is not empty. It is the only thing that is full. It is the answer before the question was ever born. So let the world call this place empty. You will know it as the one true mirror holding not a wasteland, but the whole unspoken sky. You were never meant to fill the void, but to recognize with a start that you are the vessel, and the vastness it contains. Carry this quiet not as a memory, but as a lens, and see it. See, at last, the desert is in everything. The great strength is not in the shout, but in the ground that receives the rain, patient, deep, and already whole, and see the desert in everything.